My name is Alex. A few years ago, I moved into what I thought was a decent, affordable apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, just four walls, a roof, and the hope that I could finally start saving money. The landlord, let's call him Mr. Gray, seemed fine at first. Friendly handshake, quick tour, a lease I skimmed way too fast. We all make that mistake once. The first red flag showed up on day one. There was mold in the bathroom. Not a little spot. I'm talking black mold spreading behind the tiles. When I pointed it out, Mr. Gray laughed and said, "You want cheap rent or a fancy hotel?" He promised he'd send someone to fix it. Spoiler alert, he didn't. Weeks turned into months. The mold got worse. The heating broke in the middle of winter. Roaches appeared like they were paying rent. Every time I complained, Mr. Gray would remind me, "You're month to month. Give me one reason and I'll find someone who doesn't complain." He started entering my apartment without notice. Sometimes I'd come home and smell cigarette smoke. Sometimes small things were moved. Drawers half open, documents shuffled. It didn't feel like a home. It felt like I was living in someone else's property, on borrowed time. The breaking point came in year 3. After getting sick one winter from the cold and mold, I finally did what any sane person would do. I called a tenant advocacy hotline to ask what my rights were. Somehow, Mr. Gray found out. He slid a letter under my door that said, and I quote, "Any tenant who involves legal counsel against management will be charged a $150 monthly legal fee." He was literally trying to fine me for asking about my rights. That's when I realized this wasn't just a bad landlord. This was someone who thought he was untouchable. That night, I snapped. 3 years of leaking ceilings, illegal entries, random fees, and threats. I wasn't just angry. I was done being his victim. So, I did the one thing Mr. Gray never expected. I started reading the lease, line by line. Then I went deeper. I read city housing codes, tenant rights guides, even online forums full of pro-revenge landlord stories and tenant rights explained. I learned a few very important things. In my city, landlords must keep rentals habitable. Heat, no serious mold, no infestations. Landlords have to give proper notice before entering your unit. No surprise visits. And most importantly, landlords can get slapped with daily fines for unresolved code violations. Some tenants online talked about landlords paying hundreds of dollars per day until they fixed everything. So I turned my nightmare into a case file. I took photos of every patch of mold, every water stain, every roach. I filmed the thermostat showing 10 degrees inside during winter. I saved every threatening text, every fake invoice. I even wrote down every time I came home to find him inside, pretending to check something. Then Mr. Gray made his biggest mistake. One weekend, I visited my parents. When I came back, my front door was nailed shut from the outside. He left a note saying, "I assumed you abandoned the unit. Call me to discuss new terms if you want back in." That's not just sleazy, that's an illegal lockout. And most of my belongings were still inside. Standing there staring at my own door nailed shut, I realized something. He'd just handed me all the leverage I needed. I called the tenant hotline again, but this time I had evidence. They told me exactly what to do. Document everything. File a complaint with code enforcement and the building inspector, and don't confront him directly. So that's what I did. I submitted everything. Photos, videos, texts, and a sworn statement. Then I waited. Part 3. 2 weeks later, it finally happened. I was getting ready for work when I heard a knock, not on my door but on the main entrance downstairs. I looked out the window and saw someone with a clipboard, a badge, and a serious expression. The building inspector. Mr. Gray had no idea they were coming. They started with the mold in the bathroom. The inspector took one look, shook their head, and started writing. Next was the heating system, ancient, broken, patched with duct tape. They measured the temperature in my apartment, way below the legal minimum. I showed them the videos of the leaks, the photos of roaches, the texts. Then I mentioned the door being nailed shut. The inspector's face changed completely. This wasn't just neglect, it was retaliation. Right on cue, Mr. Gray walked in. "Hey, Alex. Didn't know we had an appointment. Oh, Inspector, I wish you'd called me first." The inspector cut him off. "We're here due to multiple formal complaints, Mr. Gray. We'll need full access today." For the first time in 3 years, he looked nervous. By the end of the day, the inspector's list looked like a grocery receipt from hell. Mold, no heat, infestation, unsafe wiring, illegal lockout. Each one was a code violation. And in my city, those come with daily fines until fixed. Some small, some up to $500 per day per violation. A week later, Mr. Gray got a certified letter, notice of violations, civil penalties, daily fines. He stormed into the building, red-faced, ranting about ungrateful tenants and false accusations. But everything was documented: photos, videos, reports. There was no way out. 2 major violations meant $500 per day each. He tried to stall, but that only made the fines grow. Remember that $150 legal fee he tried to charge me? He was now paying more than that every single day to the city. Part 4. Once the fines started piling up, Mr. Gray tried one last desperate move. He knocked on my door with his fake smile. "Alex, buddy, look, we've had misunderstandings. If you drop this complaint, I'll knock some off your rent. Maybe forget a few late fees." By then, I had already spoken to a tenant lawyer. I knew that retaliation and bribery were both illegal. I smiled and said, "No thanks. I'll let the inspector handle it." He didn't have a comeback. Over the next few months, the pressure crushed him. He didn't just have fines, he had mandatory repairs that cost more than he'd ever saved by cutting corners. Eventually, he caved. He offered my full security deposit back, a written agreement saying I left in good standing, and even money for moving costs if I'd just move out quietly. I agreed with one condition: it all had to be in writing. So I moved out, on my terms, with my money, my belongings, and my dignity. Mr. Gray was left with a building under inspection, tens of thousands in fines, and a reputation as the slumlord who finally got caught. Looking back, it still amazes me how close I came to just enduring it. For years, I thought I had no power. I thought, if I complain, I'll be homeless. But here's what I learned. Bad landlords are common, but so are tenant victories. Tenant rights are real if you document everything. Sometimes the best revenge isn't breaking the rules, it's making sure the other person faces the consequences of breaking them. He tried to charge me $150 a month just for asking for help. In the end, the city charged him hundreds per day until he fixed the building or lost it. That's not just revenge, that's karma with paperwork. If you enjoyed this story, hit like, comment with your worst landlord experience, and subscribe for more satisfying pro-revenge stories. Sometimes the most powerful weapon you have is simply knowing your rights.